Hello, and welcome back to another Straight from the Source chat. Susan and I thought it would be a good idea to get back together and kind of do an expansion on objectivity, which was the title of our last scripted video. So there was quite a bit of stuff that we could have fit into that video that we thought we would elaborate on today. So where do you think you want to start, Susan?
I think we should start with what is actually objectively true for everyone, because we didn't really cover that in the video, the scripted video. And the thing that is objectively true for everyone is the waves. It's the waves that are the information carrier for what we experience, what we subjectively experience. If you think of it like a coin with two sides, there's the form on one side, which is the waves, and then on the other side is our subjective experience. And for example, think of the color red. There's the wave that delivers that, the frequency, and then how we experience it. But what we don't know is, do I experience red the same way that you do? Maybe
kind of like my red.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Your red could be my green, right? We don't know. All we know is that for both of us, the thing that objectively is the same is the actual frequency, the waves. So we exist, all of us, in, and this is not just people, but everything, every entity, in a sea of waves. And we have in our avatars, whatever avatar we have, the ability to perceive waves, information.
Right. And I think our perspectives are really, really different. And a really important point to bring up is there's a common thought that because of the way that we as humans experience reality, or the holos, we kind of tend to think that that's the true reality because that's the way that we perceive it. And so if you juxtapose that with different senses of different animals, you think about like bats with their echolocation, and I know you talked about dolphins, just all these different animals like dogs, they hear and see and they experience reality in a different way than us. But because how humans experience reality, we tend to think that our reality is the real one.
Yeah, and I did a video on this even where I said that even knowing, even once you've been made aware that we only perceive limited amount of information in the sea of waves that's around us, even then we still tend to think, oh yes, but our reality is the true one. You know, we
don't even see like the pheromones and the ultraviolet rays and all of the different stuff on the light spectrum that we just have no access to.
But what we all have in common, whether we have a way to perceive them or not, is all of the waves. So it's just this sea of waves. That's what exists objectively for everyone.
And so I think another interesting point to kind of bring up is the way that we've evolved, because we've all evolved for survival, but not for truth. So there's actually no truth organ. You know, evolution has kind of hidden the truth from us.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm sure a lot of people have it, is if there's a sea of waves around us, why don't we perceive all of them? Why don't we? And actually,
would it be too much for us?
Oh, overwhelming. Can you imagine if we had the ability to have every piece of information coming in? I think Morg says this a lot, and it's true. A tiger would come along and eat us before we were able to figure out what we were doing or where we were. So, you know, we don't, there is no, like you said, truth organ that showed, we don't have a need for it. We don't have a need to know truth. We have a need for what is like a survival, what is for fitness.
So, you know, that may be true for them, but that doesn't mean that it's true for everyone. And I think a lot of times people want everyone to accept their individual subjective truth as truth, when it's not.
When people say truth, they mean opinion. That's my,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they're actually meaning.
And I think it's a matter of perspective. And so, a good example to bring up is, have you ever seen that meme? I call it the truth meme, with the cylinder, and there's a light on it, and it's projecting onto two walls, both the shape of a
Oh,
square
yeah.
and the shape of a circle. And it says, this is truth, but this is the truth, meaning the cylinder. And I think if you take everything that we've talked about in this video and you kind of bring it together to kind of look at it through a lens of rationality, what we're doing is we're kind of thinking about how we interact with the world, or how we interact with the holos. And so there's a really interesting gentleman that we would like to talk to you guys about eventually,
Oh, yeah.
perhaps in a live stream. His name is Donald Hoffman, and he uses a word called interface. So he's talking about how we interface with the world that we experience.
Yeah, he's actually a cognitive scientist in California. He's a professor in California. And what I find so amazing about him, you don't get this very often, is that he's actually given up on space-time as being fundamental. And
Which
he
is intriguing.
really intriguing, yeah, because he knows that he's in the very few. He talks about his colleagues in quite nice ways. He calls them brilliant, and he recognizes that they're doing important work, but he also knows that they're often, as I always say, they're looking within the snow globe for the information outside the snow globe, or think of like the video game.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're
Talk
going to,
about the VR headset quite a bit.
yes, that's right. He does use the VR headset. It's a really good example. And yeah, you're not going to find the truth of reality inside the VR game. It's outside.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about the, the mathematical structures that are being found outside of space-time. And
Yeah. I think
and
that's probably one of the most intriguing things that he says, is that space-time is not fundamental.
yep,
So
yep.
if you would like to, I hope our audience would be interested. I think we should do a live stream sometime coming up where we can take a deeper look at reality and talk about Donald Hoffman's work,
Yeah.
and just kind of dive into what he means by that.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And I think that people are going to be really interested in that. And that's probably a good place to end this video.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's been great. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.